Have you seen the omens? Not the movie The Omen. I mean the signs. The signs. The future. Have you been able to know and understand what they mean? The black cat passing in front of the moon with the rainbow around it before the raven cawed 3 times. Then we will know. Then we will know what will happen. Doesn't exactly sound Jewish, does it? No, not so much. And yet, wasn't that kind of what was going on in this week's Torah portion? I will know the bride. I will know the bride when she comes. And she dips her jug and fills the trough for the camels. Then will God's path be revealed to me. What if no one had come? Right? What if everybody had come out and were men? Right? What happens if it was just the day when the well was dry and he was sitting there and they'd all gone down to the river? What kind of fortune telling is going on here? As Jews, do we go in for fortune telling all that much? I don't mean as a fun party trick. I mean seriously believing that omens and signs and symbols will reveal God's will and decisions to us. Is this something we do on a regular basis? No. There are a couple mention of such things within Torah and Tanakh, but they are severely limited to within the realm of the Kohanim, and they are no longer with us. We do not rely on omens. We rely instead on our mind. We rely instead on the gifts that God has given us that are open to cross-examination. This is why Jews love to debate so much and discuss, because I explain my opinion and why it's my opinion. That's a very important part that a lot of people keep forgetting. And then you can examine the whys and ask me questions, and then I can see whether or not my opinion actually rests on anything like a firm foundation. And if not, this is the important part, I update my opinion. And then vice versa. And then I challenge yours, and we go back and forth, back and forth. But who knew that in fact the easiest way to find a wife was simply to go stand near a well and say, the next 4th woman who walks out, this is going to be the bride. Or the next woman who comes out wearing a blue hat, this is going to be the one, because God would certainly not let me down. I have faith that God will support me. All I need to do is set a marker and God will hit it. We can begin to see why fortune telling is so antithetical to Judaism. I set the marker and then God will hit it for me. You got it backwards, my friend. God set the marker for us, and then we have to hit it for God. We are not setting a target and God is shooting the arrows. God has set the target, and then we that shoot the arrows of our behavior, of our action. And yet, here we have, told multiple times, as I explained earlier, the story of somebody who seems to be using signs and omens to make one of the most important life decisions and historical decisions that will ever be made. Why? What in the world is going on here? Is he just giving us complete nonsense that we are meant to ignore? Or, as you can probably tell by the intonation of my voice, is there a subtext to what's happening here that is not quite the black cat in front of the moon with the halo? All right, he is looking for something more than a sign. You notice he didn't say the one with the blue hat. He didn't say girl number 3. He did not establish some random criteria that would be the sign that would reveal that God had made his mission a success. Instead, he establishes something very different. And as John is pointing out, one of the characteristics, which Natan also mentioned in his address to Yael, is chesed, is kindness. That he would ask for a drink, and that she would let him drink. Kindness number 1. Now, kindness number 1, first of all, because it wasn't like she was coming around with a water bottle. She had a jug of water on her shoulder. Anybody here ever carry a large jug of water on your shoulder, or anything, a sack of concrete on your shoulder, right? A giant plank for a construction project? Once it's up there, you don't want to take it down again. And once you take it down and now you've let someone drink from it, you're going to have to go back and get more to fill up for how much you had intended to bring back the first time. So the kindness one is that she is willing to put herself out for him. Kindness number two, who's he? He's some stranger. Most of the ancient morality codes were based upon reciprocity. I help you because you're part of my community, and I know, therefore, you will help me when I need it. But a stranger? Bah! Strangers are outside the realm of my concern, because who knows whether you're going to be around to ever pay me back for what I did for you. So why would I lift a finger to help someone I don't know, to someone whom I have no societal obligation? You may notice that, of course, within the Torah, the rights of the stranger are extremely protected and sacred in the eyes of God, but not so in much of the ancient world, and certainly not within Rivka's hometown. Therefore, when she's willing to do this for a stranger, fresh off the camel, all the more so she is showing kindness. Kindness number three was already mentioned as well. She voluntarily chooses to water the camels. Yes, she was asked to water him, to give him something to drink, but she suggests, she volunteers, and runs to feed and to water the camels. This is an incredible act, as anybody who's ever been around a camel will know. First of all, dealing with a camel at all is an act of kindness and courage. Second of all, watering an entire fleet of camels is going to be a lot more than just giving one guy something to drink. And yet she was willing to do this, and did not ask for payment, did not ask for anything. She was willing to live up to all of this, just to be kind. And then there is one more special part to this test that he is setting out, and that is the location. It is outside of her home. He doesn't go and knock on a random door and see if he'll be treated with kindness. Instead, he waits out in the middle of the public square. And here comes Rivka without her family, without anyone else in the community. She is the first one out, and she is willing to do this even though nobody is watching her. And say our sages, this is the ultimate mark of Rivka's bravery and kindness. To do what is right when no one will ever know that you did. To do what is right when you're not under the umbrella, under the protection, under the scrutiny of your family or your community. To do what is right completely anonymously. Why was this so important for Rivka in particular? I mean, it's important for all of us, but why for Rivka? Because she was going to become a stranger in another land. She was going to move to the land of Canaan, where she would be the stranger. She was going to move in among a group of people whom would not be always welcome or viewed well by the surrounding nations. And she would be forced to do what was right, if that was truly in her heart, without ever expecting a reward. The equivalent of at least anonymous, if not actually under hostile scrutiny, she would be then carrying out her kindness. Only such a woman who would behave in the way that the woman did in the story would be able to take Sarah's place, be able to take Abraham's place, and grow the Jewish people alongside Isaac. And one last part, the servant actually wasn't relying on the omen. In the section that we read, he says clearly to them, "But if I'm wrong, tell me, and I'll go." He is not saying, she is the chosen one, the prophecy has been fulfilled, and then grabbing her, throwing her on a camel, and racing back across the wilderness. Instead, he holds out the possibility, even with all the proof that he has seen, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this isn't the one. I tick all the boxes, and she looks like the one. Not only is she kind, but she comes from the right family. It seems like it to me, but I could be wrong. Tell me, am I wrong? And ultimately, who makes the decision? Rivka. Ultimately, Rivka makes the decision. Yes, her father and brother say, yeah, this looks like God work. What can we say about it, good or bad? But then they bring Rivka out and say, so, Do you want to go? And ultimately, it is she that makes that decision. That is the greatest miracle of all, is that she was the one who took charge of where she would be, and she knew that a family that had sent someone to find a person of exceptional kindness was exactly the sort of family she wanted to be a part of. And so too, I hope, for all of us. Shabbat Shalom.